Service is our essential strength, and brotherhood is our fundamental spirit.
June 1968. A great union meets in the nation's capital to review its 30 years of progress. For these men and women, a better life for all is much more than a hackneyed phrase. For these are the men and women of the Communications Workers of America, the community-minded union. Now their strength carries them beyond the 30-year mark, and their plans and purpose are everywhere evident. Booths and exhibits in the foyer are reminders of their heritage as they enter the great convention hall. The 30th Annual Convention of the Communications Workers of America is underway with the presentation of the colors by the United States Marine Corps. God's blessing is asked for their deliberations by the Right Reverend Monsignor George G. Higgins.
Almighty God, Father of all men, of Negroes and whites.
The climate of the convention is set, and the strength and tone of the 5 days to follow is evidenced by the words of CWA President Joseph A. Byrne, brought to the podium by Vice President William K. Edwards.
I give you President Byrne.
Today in 1968, CWA is one of the greatest and respected unions in this nation. How times have changed. Then in 1938, you could measure our influence in America with a pair of calipers. Today, in 1968, CWA is truly a part of the American establishment. Our voice is heard in this land. What we say and what we do today means something to America. We must grow, become real communication workers, just to hold on to our position. We must grow with the nation. We must grow with the economy. We must grow to ensure our influence base in the changing social and political climate of the nation and, in fact, of the world. In our studies, we saw the great dimensions of what the American economy could do with the science and knowledge that is ours to use. Knowing all that, it is tragic to see this America of ours becoming stuck in the mire of great social problems. And it is absurd to think that we Americans do not use our tremendous collective brain power to find a way out of this swamp. 30 years ago, When CWA had its beginnings, the America of Franklin Delano Roosevelt was groping its way to the shores of economic recovery after the world's worst depression. And CWA played its role, a constructive role, in working for a better, a more humane economic system, a system that combines, without the tags of any ideology, the best elements of a number of isms. Today, in 1968, the nation is better off because of CWA. But that doesn't mean we can rest on the oars of this union. A solid wage rate won't buy you happiness in a land of violence or a land of slums. 5 weeks vacation won't buy you a good time in a land of poisonous air and polluted waters. A really fine pension won't buy you security in a land which wastes its human and natural resources and let its economy get out of whack. But with all of our problems, we are not a sick nation, not by a damn sight. We have encouraged and permitted some excesses, and we do have some sick people, but that doesn't mean we have a sick nation. In fact, I, for one, feel great, and thank God many times I was born and live in the greatest country on earth with the finest society of people ever assembled. Our country needs us. Our political parties need us. Our cities and towns need us. Our labor movement needs us. In this democracy, we have a role to play, and all of us must respond to the challenge to help build a better America. And with God's help, in these difficult days, we shall make our constructive contribution to the future of the nation through good citizenship, through forward-looking ideals, through thoughtful programs. Yes, the Communication Workers of America is 30 years old in 1968, but stands on but the threshold of its greatest years. They are still to come. So let us all work together in CWA, in this union of ours, for the future of peace, of democracy, of progress for our own members, and also for people everywhere. Thank you very much.
The delegates lose no time in tackling the pressing problems of our day. One of the more pertinent resolutions expresses concern over violence in our cities. It is presented by Howard Bachman, President of the CWA City Council of Washington, D.C.
That a printed copy of this resolution be sent to each mayor, councilman, commissioner, congressman, and senator. Mr. Chairman, the Resolutions Committee moves the adoption of Resolution Number 1, entitled Violence in America.
Motion is to adopt the resolution. Do I hear a second? Seconded by a delegate from the floor. All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. Down hands, opposed by like sign. Down hands, the motion has carried.
Therefore, be it resolved that the Communications Workers of America...
The CWA evidences its interest in the younger generation in a resolution urging the lowering of the voting age to 18.
The committee moves the adoption of resolution number 10 entitled Voting Age.
The motion is to adopt. Do I hear a second? All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. Down hands, opposed by like sign. Down hands, the motion is adopted. We recognize the Secretary-Treasurer of the Union, Bill Smollett.
We started with a zero balance, and unlike some other budding unions in those days, we had no sugar daddy to bail us out. 30 years later, let us look at the balance sheet. What is progress bar? Let me tick off some things for you quickly. 1, we own or are buying our own buildings, giving CWA permanence and stability. 2, our administrative offices across...
Secretary-Treasurer Smallwood, whose detailed financial statement is already in the delegates' hands, sets his report to the convention against the background of the past 30 years, from a penniless state to solid financial condition. Now, the executive vice presidents come to the microphone to report on their special responsibilities within the CWA. Details on community relations are given to the delegates by Executive Vice President James M. Massey, saying the union is very proud of the work its members are doing to help build a better society for everyone. Executive Vice President Glenn E. Watts summarizes the report of the Executive Board, a substantial document covering all aspects of the union's activities for the past 12 months. Executive Vice President George E. Gill, in charge of the union's organizing programs, stresses the need for continued growth in the years ahead and for an even stronger defense fund. The number one man in American labor, President George Meany of the AFL-CIO, is on hand for this 30th annual convention, and he receives a standing ovation as he comes to the microphone.
We intend to continue to back up the efforts for world peace, peace with freedom, and we're going to press our government to continue its efforts on the domestic front. Let us hold fast to the faith that we in this nation have the will and the power to achieve the good life for those who live in the cities, for the farmer, for the young, for the old, for the black and the white, for all the people of America. And it's to that commitment that I pledge all of the efforts of the AFL-CIO and I'm sure the CWA. Thank you very much.
As Mr. Meany concludes his remarks and leaves the podium, the delegates again show their appreciation with a standing ovation. Between formal sessions, the work goes on. Scores of meetings are held to discuss convention issues and policies. Indicative of this kind of activity is this group from the Pacific Coast, meeting with Vice President Richard Hackler to discuss foreign affairs. The convention isn't all work for everybody all the time. Those who aren't delegates or alternates have an opportunity, some of them for the first time, to be sightseers in their nation's capital, aboard buses provided by the CWA. As the hours roll on, the pace quickens. Resolutions, debates, people for, people against. The democratic tension that is the meat of all deliberative bodies. And the majority rules.
Therefore, be it resolved that this 30th anniversary convention of the Communications Workers of America, on behalf of the 440,000 workers it represents, wholeheartedly and enthusiastically endorses Vice President Hubert Humphrey for the election to the presidency of the United States in 1968.
I take from the response that the motion is seconded. All those in favor of the motion to adopt signify by raising their right hand. Down hands, opposed by like sign. Down hands, it is carried. To present to you in person the person you endorsed, our beloved Vice President, Hubert Humphrey.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. Most of my life I keep saying Mr. President. To someone else. I've either been doing it at home to Madam President, or I've been doing it over at the White House to Mr. President, or I'm doing it here with Joe Byrne to President Joe. And I always am happy to salute a great president, President Meade. Wonderful president. And am I ever proud to have, as one of my prized possessions, and someday it'll be in the Humphrey Library, an honorary membership card that was given me in this union in the year 1949. You did wait an extra year longer than you needed to, but I'm grateful for it anyway. It's a wonderful, wonderful memory and a priceless possession. It makes me feel so that I can say brothers and sisters, because really a union movement has a great sense of fraternity and sorority to it. It is, in a very real sense, a brotherhood or a community. I have just one or two other observations here. I know there are many members of Congress. I want to congratulate them on their good judgment in being here tonight. I just thought I'd just slip in just one little political reference. I hope I can see you at a joint session next year. And if I do, I want you members of Congress to take a look at the back page of a program that I got called the Resolutions of the 30th Annual Convention, because you're going to see an awful lot about those 16 items, or at least 14 or 15 of those 16 items in whoever gives that State of the Union message. I want... My dear friends, this is a wonderful program that you have in these resolutions. Every man ought to be proud of his country, proud of his faith, his church. Every man and woman proud of their citizenship. And you ought to be proud of your family. And you ought to be proud of this union. And I hope that you'll take these resolutions home, this little booklet that I received, and I know you all have one. I hope you'll take it home, and wherever you go, to your church, to your local, to your club, over to your neighbors, I hope you'll just take out that book and look at it and say, I want you to know what we've been thinking about, what we the people have been thinking about. I want you to know what we the members of this CWA have been thinking about. I want you to see what we stand for. My fellow union members, we need to get our message to the people. We need to have the people understand what we're really interested in. We're not interested only in a good wage, even though that's vital. We're not interested only in our working conditions, even though that's vital. We're interested in our living conditions, not only for ourselves, but for every American. That's the glory of the union movement. The glory of the union movement is it is not selfish. It understands that there is solidarity and unity. It understands there's strength in solidarity, that there is strength in unity. It understands that it must grow, and it must include ever and ever more people. And if there's any weakness today in the union movement, it is that too many of us, too many of those who are active members and even officers, have failed to carry the message of what the union movement of this country, the free trade union movement, means to every American and means to every free man and woman throughout this world. You've got to take that message to them. Look what you've done in Latin America. I know of it. I've been there. I've seen your work. You know what you've been doing? You've been saving lives. You've been helping to build a free society. It doesn't come easily. You've been willing to share of some of the things that you have. You've been willing to help build free trade unions. And let me tell you right now, it is impossible to have a democracy or a free government in any country without a free labor movement. Impossible. I hear a good deal about the new politics. Let me remind you about that kind of politics. There is no freedom that is meaningful unless men and women have something to say about their own destiny, about their lives. And the labor movement of America has been the greatest contributor to the expansion of democratic opportunity of any single force in this country. And we ought to be taking that message out to millions and millions of people. I'm just proud as punch to be a member, an honorary member of this union, and I don't even mind if Joe and Muriel do have a little something going here tonight. Thank you very much.
Distinguished and a very warm person, the Honorable Willard Wirtz, Secretary of Legislature. Thank you. I don't believe American labor realizes how important it is to the life of the democracy, and I know that the rest of the democracy hasn't any idea at all of how important it is for American labor to be what it is. I just point out to you that it's been my privilege in the Cabinet of the United States and in the hearing chambers of commerce to stand up in these last 7 years and representing or speaking for, not representing, speaking for or with a particular voice of American labor, speak for every single public interest measure which has been brought before the people of this country in that period. So I say to you, thanks, Joe Byrne, for all you are as far as this union is concerned. Thanks to you of the CWA for all you are as far as American labor is concerned. And thanks, American labor, for all you are as far as the American public is concerned. And thanks for having had a chance to say it. Thank you.
The work of the convention continues. For 2 more days, the delegates give themselves to the task at hand. The building of a better union, better communities, a better America, and a better world. They prepare to say farewell to an exciting, rewarding week. And as they vote to adjourn, their hearts are warmed as President Joseph Byrne bids them goodbye with his now familiar Irish blessing.
We've been together again, our 30th time. To me, it's always an inspiration. And so may I say once more, as I've said in previous years, from the very bottom of my heart, may the sun always shine on your face. May the wind always be at your back. May your fields be green and your children many. And when we meet in the land of the great beyond, as Mary has today, may God hold us both in his hands.